Did you not raise questions about the caste inequalities that are cited as major reasons in Hinduism?
And he would ask his son or his children to wash my plate, the plate upon which I ate my food. At one stage, somebody told him about Ramakrishna. He went to him, and the first question he asked was, "Have you seen God?" And he got an answer which nobody gave him. He said, "Yes."
Sir, how do you see this description meaningful or different from what Christianity talks about heaven, or what Islam talks about?
Christianity lost its reliability so far as I was concerned. So, according to Vaishanavaite faith, she is a saint. And but recently, I hear that some new stories are being woven around this. People say that the Chola family has something to do with that and all.
Ramanuja had inducted many non Brahmins by birth.
Ramanuja was not interested in making anybody a Brahmin.
चातुर्वर्ण्यं मया सृष्टं गुणकर्मविभागशः तस्य कर्तारं.
Of course, Puranas say that depending upon the guna and karma, the varna of a person can be changed.
They wanted a Vaishnavite Brahmin.
What is objectionable in that?
Hello and welcome to Chanakya's Face Off. We have a very, very interesting and important guest today with us, who's a writer, who's an orator, and the founder of Rishi Dharma Foundation. A very, very interesting man known for his wit and jokes, as well as deep philosophical thoughts and oratory skills. None other than Mr. D.A. Joseph is joining us today in Chanakya English. Namaskaram, Mr. D.A. Joseph, sir. Welcome to
Namaskaram.
Chanakya English. So, from an ex-Christian to a Vaishnavite, this must have been the most common and very popular question that you have faced in many of your interviews. From an ex-Christian to a staunch Vaishnavite, can you brief us shortly about your journey, sir, and what inspired you to be a Vaishnavite?
Nobody instigated me to do so. It was because of a self instigation. By birth, I was a man very curious about spiritual matters. It might be a little humorous to you if I tell you that when I was as young as 5 or 6, I used to pray in the church towards Jesus, asking for an enlightenment about paradise, hell, and such spiritual things. I never asked for worldly benefits because such was an itching urge within me to know something about human soul, its emancipation, God, and things like that. And perhaps my prayers were answered. And as early as 12 or 13, I was left in the company of people who were semi mystical, people who had some contacts with the other world. The first person will be, I should say, a certain astrologer who was called Padamuthu Nadar. That man was gifted with the poesy by the grace of goddess Saraswati and Lord Muruga. And he had narrated to me how he got it. It seems while he was a boy of 10, he was a page boy in a grocery shop. While his boss had left him in the shop alone and gone for lunch, some sadhu came. A sadhu with a long beard. He came and he asked for food from this boy. He said, I have only cold rice for my lunch. Would you take it? He said, I don't mind it. I gave it to him. He gave it. After eating that, he gave us Upadesam a certain mantra. He said there is no stipulations of behavior. You can keep on chanting it always, whether you take bath or not. That is a different thing. Then he went away. He started doing it. Perhaps on the 40th day, he had a dream that he was walking along a paddy field, and a certain tiger was about to bounce upon him. He was scared, but he could see his neighbor, a man who was living as a neighbor by the side of his house. That man standing some 10 feet away from him. That tiger all of a sudden bounced upon him, killed him, and ate him. In the dream, all these things are happening in dream. Then he could see Goddess Saraswati in the sky. She said, from today onwards, you will be given knowledge about future. And it was followed by the appearance of Lord Muruga also. He woke up, he could hear the wailing noise of women folk from the neighboring house. He learned that that man was dead that night. So that was a premonition for him.
Oh.
From that day onwards, he started writing verses with alliterations, with all prosodical grammar in Tamil. But he was not a literate man. He could know only to sign his name, that's all. He knew nothing more than that. In those verses, he could narrate the past tense of people, the present tense of people, and the future tense also. He tried it with his shop owner, the boss first, and everything was true. And gradually he came to be an astrologer. He became the astrologer of famous cinema stars like MGR, N.S. Krishnan, Shivaji Ganeshan, like that. My father, who was very fond of moving with astrologers, he found him out and he brought him to my house. He was staying there for 1 month. At that time, I was more interested in his experiences than his astrological predictions. I asked him as to how he got that mantra, what that mantra was, and all. All his narrations were very mystic, and he could speak out my past experiences without my telling him that. He could even foretell the future of my friends, and I could see that those things came true. So this drew my attention towards Hinduism, and I thought Hinduism had some message for me. In Christianity, they don't believe in rebirth. They don't even teach that. They are very puritanic. They are very, what do you say, fanatic in following Christianity alone. A true Christian is not supposed to move with non-Christians or go to Hindu temples. But this man changed my behavior, and I learned a lot of things from him. I started
Would you
believing
be
in
would you be kind enough to share his name, sir, with us?
A. Padamuttu Nadar. A.
Okay.
Padamuttu Nadar.
Thank you, sir.
He's from Aruppukkottai. Aruppukkottai.
Yeah.
Then I started believing in this rebirth. I started believing in sadhus, saints, mantras, practices, and fruit yielding yogic practices. Thereafter, my father brought a Brahmin, a Smartha Brahmin, for my Tamil teacher. He was on A. Sivasubramania Iyer. That man, he belongs to this Guru Parampara tradition. He was not an educated man in the British sense. He was not a scholastic man. He learnt whatever he had in his mind from Guru Parampara. And he taught me Tamil from a different angle. He taught me Tamil verses from the yogic point of view. He used to give me the instances of miracles which happened in his life. And that was an additional blow to my Christian fanaticism. So Christian fanaticism slowly disappeared from me. And then I started visiting temples and all. Then I met Sri Veeraragava Iyengar, whom I decided to be my guru in my later days. And it was from that man I had a thorough information about Hinduism. And the enlightenment he gave me was so much that I found no questions left over in my mind to be asked. I felt that I know everything about religion, about God, and things like that. And this Iyengar was a Vaishanavaite, Tengalai Vaishanavite. So he had an impact, a heavy impact upon my faith. And I started following Ramanuja's Tengalai Vaishnavam. I learned the other branches of Hinduism also, but they were not that much appealing to me. I could find that they lacked some more information, and I restricted myself to the preachings of the Iyengar. I learned the Sanskrit from him. I could make out the meaning of books like Upanishads, Holy Ramayana, Mahabharata, and all. And as I was a scholar already in Hindi, I was a qualified Hindi Pandit. So I could pick up Sanskrit very easily. And now I started doing self reading. I started seeking people's advice. I stopped it and I started reading. I was a voracious reader. I used to find myself in the philosophy section of any library. I would spend hours together. And I felt enriched about Indian knowledge. I thought I would practice Hinduism myself. Vivekananda was attracted towards the yogic side of Hinduism. And you would have read from his biography that during his infancy he used to sit for some 30 minutes in a meditation and turn back to see whether his hairs have become as long as the hair of a yogi within 30 minutes. So much he was fascinated by yogic practices. But I didn't go to that side of Hinduism. I opted to be absorbed into the bhakti side of it because Ramanuja was preaching bhakti, prapati, saranagati, and things like that. Yoga was not preached in Vaishnavism. My
Quick
master,
question. Sorry, sir. Sorry to interrupt you, but a quick question I
yes,
wanted to ask you,
yeah.
sir.
Mm.
When you're moving from Christianity to Hinduism, the most common thing people who move from Hinduism to Christianity, what they ask is about the caste inequalities. Have you come across being a born Christian when you moved into a practicing Vaishnavite? Did you not raise questions about the caste inequalities that are cited as major reasons in Hinduism, or were you not subjected to any kind of discrimination when you started practicing Hinduism, sir?
You see, there was no need for me to move with the Hindu society. I restricted myself to my relation with my master. My master was so generous and so broad minded that he had none of this caste fanaticism. He was so liberal in his views that he used to serve me food in his house and he would ask his son or his children to wash my plate, the plate upon which I ate my food. He would ask his children to wash. And I was never left to face such discriminations. I felt as though I was one of the family. And the children of my master were equally kind to me. And since I had no opportunity to move with the rest of Hindus, I did not come across a chance to face this caste discrimination. I was happy with my master's family, and my master's family was very much acquainted with yogis. One Swamiji, his name is Swarajananda. Swarajananda, he was a practitioner of Hanumat Siddhi. He was a devotee of Anjaneya. He was an expert in Kundalini Yoga. He was such an expert yogi that once it so happened, this happened in Madras, I mean Chennai. You know, the road which is called Anna Salai now was called the Mount Road in those days. Early morning, 10 a.m., it was a peak hour. People were going very fast to their offices and schools. This man was walking with his disciple, his favorite disciple. He was none other than my master's eldest son, Mr. Rangarajan. Both were going. All of a sudden, I said, Rangaraju, please watch some funny game now. Huh? You know what he did? He stood straight. He held both his hands above his tummy. Then he looked up in such a fashion that the black portion of his eyes were not seen. His eyes were seen thoroughly white. Only the white section of his eyes were visible. Um, all of a sudden, the traffic of Anna Saleh stopped. Everybody started looking at this man, not at his head level, but people looked at a position which was some 30 feet above his head, where there was nothing. For others, it was just nothing. They look at man, Anjaneya is standing there. How tall he is, how majestic he is. Everyone pointed out a certain spot in the sky. They said they could see Hanuman there, alive, looking at people and blessing them. The whole traffic was jammed. Police people came and all cars stopped and all pedestrians stopped. They started watching him, around him, but they were looking up towards a certain vision, which they said they could see. This man is called as Swami Surajananda. He was a man with such yogic realizations. He used to come to my master's house. So I know him, I've seen him. And he used to say that by his yogic vision, he could see the presence of Lord Venkateshwara in my puja room. Lord Venkateshwara not in the portrait or not as a Vigraha, but as he is in Tirupati Yadumalai. How is he there? In that form, I'm able to see him in your house. That means Lord Vishnu's grace is very full upon you. Nobody can harm you, but there are very many intrusions, very many enemies you have. They want to harm you. They want to pull you again to Christianity. They are creating all physical problems, I know, but nothing would affect you. Lord Venkateshwara is with you. So such connections, such relations strengthened my faith in Vaishnavism. And as I was interested in moving with the people who had contact with the other world, whenever I heard about persons who would foresee the future by divine help, I used to inquire about their address, go there, meet them, talk to them, things like that. Very many astrologers, very many palmists, very many or yogic siddhas I met. Each of my meeting kept on strengthening my faith in Hinduism and Vaishnavism. And one memorable incident, if you would be patient enough to listen to me.
I'm listening, sir. I'm astonished by your whatever you've said so far. Please, sir.
I was living in Bangalore. My that was just then I was married, just 1 year after my marriage, and I was not very happy about my fortune because my family people were very unhappy about my religious leaning towards Hinduism. They used to scold me. So things like that were going on. My father was a very rich man, but he was threatening me by saying that I won't give you my money or property if you keep on pursuing Hinduism like this. So I was hard pressed with tension, emotional tension. I told my one of my dear friends in Madras, he's a Smartha Iyer. His name is Mohan Kalkinathan. He said, I know a man who has this, the third eye. He can see into your future. I will take him to you. He was called Jain. His full name I do not know, but he was called by the word Jain because he belonged to Jainism. Our Tamilian, but he attached himself to Jainism. He was the astrologer for rich people, for multimillionaires, for ministers, for chief minister, for MPs like that, To get an interview with him was very tough. He took me to him and he used the name of the king of Belgaum. The king of Belgaum was the friend of Mohan, and the king of Belgaum was a friend of that Jain also. So when the king of Belgaum, his name was used, he allowed entry into his room. He made others wait outside. I went in and I told him about my uh, difficulty. He said, "You come to me tomorrow. I will observe crystal gazing this night. I will foresee your future. I will tell you what you will be tomorrow." So I went back. That night was spent very impatiently by me. I was very anxious to meet him the next day. The next morning by 9 o'clock, I went there and a huge crowd was waiting. But when he saw my visiting card, he said, "Let him come in." I went in, I said, "Hey, I saw the crystal gazing yesterday on your behalf. There is nothing wrong in your horoscope. You will realize your ambitions to your maximum ambition, to your maximum satisfaction," he said. "No hindrance. Don't worry about anything."
Crystal
Then,
gazing in the sense based on your horoscope, or is it something some
no,
other
no.
type of?
I think you don't know what crystal gazing is.
I don't know, sir.
Crystal is a round ball made of crystal.
Oh yeah.
It's pure crystal only. And then this practitioner will chant a particular mantra, and a particular deity would come into that crystal.
Okay.
And then he will converse with the deity.
Okay.
And it will show visibly by a scene upon the screen of the crystal of what is going to happen. It's called crystal gazing.
Okay. Got it.
Only that man can see. If you go and sit by his side, you won't be able to see anything there. You will see only the crystal ball. You won't be able to see any vision. But that man
Mm.
will be able to see.
Okay.
So he
Okay.
said, I watched the crystal gazing and I heard the message that you will realize your ambitions to your maximum satisfaction. Then humorously I asked him, I did not tell you what my ambition is. You say that I will realize my ambitions. Do you know what my ambition is? He got slightly irritated. Hey, come on, boy. How many people have been like you? Huh? I know you want to become an international preacher. You want to become a man of international repute. You want to preach Hinduism and Indian philosophy. Am I right? I said, yes. You will succeed. That's what I was told during crystal gazing. Of course, there will be very many oppositions, but you will get over them. And no house in your horoscope is weak. In the horoscope, there are 12 houses. Lagna, second house, third house, fourth house, like that. There are 12 houses. Each house denotes a particular section of your life. No house in your horoscope is weak. Everything is strong. All planets are well placed. There's nothing to worry, you go. And from coming April 14th, you will see good days, better days. I went away from his house, and all those things he told about me came true. Even today, coming true. So, such occasions strengthened my faith. I believe that whatever our rishis, our ancestors have told about the other world, the Shastras, All are true. Nothing is fancy or imagination. Some people mock at description of Sri Vaikunta, and you won't believe me if I say that a great scholar of international repute, as great as Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, he makes fun of Ramanuja's description of Sri Vaikunta. He says Ramanuja is describing Vaikunta as though a baby of kindergarten school describes about a particular island that boy visited during his dreams. He says the floor will be made of gold, the windows will be made of diamonds, and Sri Vaikunta will be decorated with all um, extraordinary ornaments and all. It's all funny. Dr. Radhakrishnan says it is too childish because his concept of salvation belongs to Sri Shankara. Sri Shankara says that um, salvation means uh, attainment of oneness with Brahman. Brahman has no shape. Brahman is formless, above form. So once you attain salvation, nothing can be seen. Everything is beyond sight. That is his concept of salvation. When you tell him about Sri Vaikunta, where the Adisesha will be there, Vishnu will be sleeping upon it, Adisesha will have 1,000 heads, he will have a Shankar, Chakra, all these things, for him, they're laughter provoking. So he did not give a very good, what do they call, opinion about that. But I feel in my personal life that such Puranic descriptions about Indraloka, other lokas, Sri Vaikunta, Shiva Loka, they cannot be false. The only thing is we are not able to visualize them, see them right here. That is the only problem. But that is due to our lack of contact. They say seeing is believing. When you don't believe in a particular thing, once you see it eye to eye, you start believing. Kiro, the famous, world famous palmistry, says, I was a very skeptic man about palmistry. I used to think, how can the lines present upon your palm denote your future or past? What connection can lines have contact with your past tense and future tense? I used to be thinking like that. But once I came to India, once I read the books made of human skin, upon which I could see the imprint of the palm of King Ashoka, Bhojaraja, and people like that. When I read those Sanskrit slokas, and when I understood the meaning of those slokas, I was simply taken aback. Indians have gone so deep into the science of palmistry. Palmistry cannot be false. So he started believing in physiognomy, palmistry, Samudrika Shastra, and he has written so many books on palmistry that palmistry has come to be known as chiromancy. Chiro is his name. No, the science of palmistry has been called as chiromancy. He's a staunch believer in palmistry. He says, seeing is believing. We are not able to believe in the mythics, in Puranas, because we are not seen. We, we make fun of Lord Krishna when Bhagavad Gita says that he had 1,000 heads or hundreds of hands and all. How is it possible? One deity having 1,000 heads. Then how many necks he'll have? How many heads can remain in one neck? Just imagine. See, it's a funny question. So that's how Shastras are very provocative. But we are not seeing them, so we don't believe. Once we come to experience them at first hand, our conviction will change. Vivekananda himself was a skeptic. He was a skeptic before he met Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He belongs to a rich family. His parents and ancestors spent all their property on philanthropy. They used to do poor feeding. Anybody who comes to their house hungry will be fed well with the same food which they ate. Such a philanthropic family it was. But what happened at one stage, planets turned out to be bad to them and they became paupers. They had no money to buy chapati or they were starving. At this time, Vivekananda became a skeptic. He said, there is no God. If there is God really, our ancestors and parents have been spending so much of money on philanthropy. Why should we suffer now? So he became wild. He started asking people, have you seen God any time? Particularly if he happens to see a sannyasi with that saffron robe, he used to get wild. He will catch him by the collar and say, have you seen God? No, we have not seen God. Then why do you wear this saffron? Why do you call yourself sannyasi? When you are not sure about a God whom you have not seen so far, why do you believe in him? He used to question like that. I read that in Bengal, sometimes he has kicked these sannyasis who were cheating people. At one stage, somebody told him about Ramakrishna. He went to him, and the first question he asked was, have you seen God? And he got an answer which nobody gave him. He said, yes. Can you show me? He said, yes. And these two answers stunned him. Hey, do you know what you're talking? Are you serious about your words? Have you seen God? Can you show me? He said, yes, man. Sit down. Then, as we read in the books, he kept his left leg upon his chest. And Vivekananda experienced a sort of yogic vision. He felt as though he's crossing all worlds and he's flying to some infinity. He started screaming, hey, stop it, man, stop it. Stop it, he said. Then he stopped it. Hey, boy, you wanted to see God, but just now you have started the journey. You are screaming like this. Enough, enough of your God, man. From that day onwards, he became his disciple and he started practicing. Then he realized that challenging a man to show God was too much for him because it is not a game, it is a mystic experience. Um, that is the seventh sense we have to see God. And that man had it. So I used to recollect this because we have not had such experiences, because we have not seen such visions. We make fun of Puranas and mythical books. You must bear in mind that for millions of years, our ancestors have been maintaining about the descriptions of Kailasa, Sri Vaikunta, the hell, the heaven, the soul, paradise, everything. And the description of each author is in keeping with the description of the other rishis. No rishi gives a contrasting description. All rishis said the same thing.
Sir, how do you see this description meaningful or different from what heaven, what Christianity talks about heaven, or what Islam talks about their Jannat or whatever it is? So, how is this different, sir? It's how did you think this is different, and how did you think there is logical explanations to not heaven in Christianity but Vaikunta in Hinduism?
You know, Christianity lost its reliability so far as I was concerned. Because the questions I raked up to my Catholic preachers, they received no answers. So I realized that Christianity is not a completely reliable religion. It's a good religion, all right, but it is an incomplete religion. So once you have a feeling that Christianity's description is not reliable, what is the reason for comparing the description, the mystic description of Christianity with other religions at all? You have
What are
lost
those?
faith in Christianity.
What are
Pardon me?
those questions, sir? Can you share a couple of questions with us for
I
which you
can
didn't get
share,
answers in
but
Christianity?
once I share those questions, this interview will become endless. Perhaps for 48 hours we may have to sit because questions are so vivid and so provoking. But I can tell you one thing. There is a story. in the Bible that God created Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And the garden was very fertile with flowers and tasty fruits. He gave a command to Adam that he can eat the fruit of any tree except one. And there was a tree which is called the forbidden tree. Never go near it, don't taste it. That was his command. And Adam was very adherent to the command and they never touched that fruit. The Bible says one day the devil, Satan came, tempted Adam and Eve to try that. If you eat that fruit, you will become a very fortunate man. God was jealous about you. That is why he said, don't eat it. So they tried it, they ate it. By doing so, he became a disobedient son to God. God was angry. He chased away Adam and Eve from Garden of Eden. Now, my question, first question is, does God have foreknowledge or not? Does God know what is going to happen tomorrow or next year? Does he have that foreknowledge or not? If he had that, while he gave the command to Adam not to eat that fruit, he would have definitely known that a day will come when Satan will corrupt him, he will yield to temptation, he will disobey me, he will eat that fruit. Did he have that foreknowledge or not? If you say that he had no foreknowledge, that God is not God. A God must be omniscient. God is a personality who knows everything, past, present, and the future. That is Sarvajñatva. If you say God is omniscient, he should have known that. Now, my question is, having known fully well that he is going to eat that fruit, why did he create that ironical situation? He is a weak minded man, the first man. It's a temptation to a child. If you keep tasty food in front of a hungry child and tell him not to eat it, it's a sort of a inhuman test. How can a hungry child not eat the food? So God has done that. One thing, he was cruel by doing it. Or knowing full well that that such a thing is going to happen, he did it. Both the ways, that does not behove a good God. A good God should not have done that. Not only that, the Bible preaches us that that first sin committed by Adam is passed on to posterity. Every man who is born in this world will have a share of that sin committed by Adam. What is this? Yeah. Now, in our courts, we don't hang a man for the murder committed by his great grandfather. When a man commits a murder, we hang him. After him, his son might come, his grandson might come, his great grandson might come. Just because this man is a great grandson of that man, do we hang this fellow? If we do it, it is not justice. Similarly, so punishing men for the reason that Adam ate that fruit is not just. But till now, the church believes in that, and they preach things like that. So at every stage, I was not happy with the explanations given. And there are many questions like that. I would say I have read the whole Bible 10 times at least, and not a page was there which would not provoke you with some question. So once you lose your faith in that, you're not going to compare that religion with a religion which you believe in. So I never went to the point of comparison at all. I
Perfect.
said this
It's
is a
a
better religion.
Perfect. I want to talk to you in depth, or at least couple of experiences about the great saint Sri Ramanuja. So he was the person who invented the Vishishtadvaitam philosophy, and he is the he is the still the respected and the one authoritarian person for the Sri Vaishnavism. So, a couple of things from his life history that I want to recall and ask. Um, the first one that I want to talk about is the episode where Ramanuja recovers the idol of Sri Ranganatha from the Delhi Sultanate. So, can you share your narrative about Ramanuja's path, or the story around how Ramanuja recovered the idol from the Delhi Sultanate?
While Ramanuja was told by people of Melkote that a substitute idol can be implanted there instead of the lost idol, Ramanuja was not ready to accept it. He said that the idol which we have lost has with it the pradishta of great men. So I need the exact idol. He told so, and he went to meet the Sultan. He met him. He convinced that it is a holy idol. He got it from him. He brought it.
Sir, sorry to
Uh,
interrupt you, but the idol that was taken by the Delhi Sultanate was not from Srirangam but from Melukote, correct? And
yes,
that's
yes,
what
it was
you're
from
also saying.
Melakote.
Because there are a
Srirangam
lot
has
of
nothing.
because there are a
Srirangam
lot of
has nothing to
stories
do with this.
that say that the idol was actually taken from Srirangam temple during the invasion of the Mughal rulers.
No, there was an attempt on the idol of Srirangam, and people like Pillai Lokacharya and great men of Acharya Parampara, they saved that idol. It was not lost.
Okay.
There was an attempt. But in the case of Melkote, actually, the daughter of the Sultan, she had a fancy for that idol. She took it with her, and the Sultan allowed it. So when Ramanuja fetched it back, the daughter of the Sultan, she was very sad. She was not happy about the surrendering of the idol to Ramanuja. And she told her father that I will go with the idol. Wherever it is going to be installed, I will go. And that happened after quite after some time. Ramanuja brought the idol, got it installed in Melkotai, using rendering those 10 pasurams, beginning with Urunayagamai, Oda Ulaganda, uh, chanting those 10 pasurams. He did that pradishta. After that, only after some days, while Ramanuja was in Srirangam, I heard that she came in search of Ramanuja because she went straight to Melkote to recover that idol, but people denied. Ramanuja has installed it and we won't let it go. So she came to meet Ramanuja, get his permission to get back the idol. Ramanuja said, no, it is not a playing doll. It cannot be given back. But she said, I cannot live without that idol. And the story goes as she sacrificed her life because of grief.
She came to Srirangam to meet Ramanuja.
One version says like that. There is another
Okay.
version that the meeting happened in Melkote itself. Anyway, she
Okay.
died. Ramanuja was touched by the devotion of that girl. She is a Muslim, a non-vegetarian. Go Mamsa Bhakshaki. Go Mamsa Bhakshaki means a
Kauli.
girl who will eat beef.
Beef.
According to Hindu Shastras, Go Mamsa Bhakshakas are banned from Hindu way of living. But her devotion was so strong that Ramanuja was touched by that. He said, we will install a sanadhi for this girl, this baby Nachiyar. And he arranged for that. And even today we find a sanctum sanctorum for this Bibi Nachiyar in Sri Rangam. As long as Ramanuja was alive, he saw to it that the puja was done to it. He said she is not a Muslim, she is a true Sri Vaishnavite. So according to Vaishnavite faith, she is a saint. And but recently I hear that some new stories are being woven around this. People say that the Chola family has something to do with that and all. But I don't think it is right
So, what
because
is the time period that this incident happened, sir? Can you narrate that exactly to the point that you cited? Like there is on in recent days, we are hearing a lot of stories without any proper evidences. I could not find any evidence that I can trace back. The Bibi Nachiyar Sannadhi to Kundavai Paratiyar. But I just want to make sure that if we could establish the period in which this incident happened, the installation of Bibi Nachiyar Sannidhi in Srirangam, and when was the time period that Ramanuja got back this idol from the Delhi Sultanate? It would give some sort of I mean strong evidence on when this happened, and we can even compare it with the Chola time period.
Ramanuja's biography says that he lived during the beginning of 11th century.
Hmm.
But history says that Kundavai Nachiyar was the sister of Rajaraja Cholan. Uh, she lived in a different period. These periods do not coincide. I don't know how they uh, bring together these two stories. At least a few hundred years she was lagging behind. Further, I think Chola family, the Rajaraja Cholan's family, they were ardent Saivites. They had no faith in Vaishnavism. And Bibi Nachiyar is a Vaishnavite personality. Further, Srirangam temple itself is a Vaishnavite temple. Saivism has no role to play there. If at all the story narrated by the people about Rajaraja Cholan is true, he should have done that in some Saivite temple, not in Vaishnavite temple. And Ramanuja's contemporary, this Bibi Nachiyar. Whereas in Rajaraja Cholan's story, that contemporariness is not found. So I think it's a superimposing wrong notion. I believe in the traditional faith in Bibi Nachiyar's story because it is a part of Ramanuja's life. Because while talking about Ramanuja's broad mindedness, so far as caste and creed are concerned, they used to refer to this Bibi Nachiyar story. He was so kind that he could let in a Muslim to enter Vaishnavism. And after
I also
Ramanuja,
have I also have one more point because the Cholas were very specific about documenting whatever was done in their period. Starting from Rajaraja Chola, the habit of writing inscriptions about whatever donations they give, whatever acts they do, all those have been documented, and we didn't find any document related to this particular story about Kundavai Nachiyar, Alice Bibi Nachiyar event happening. So that was one more point from the archaeological side of things, where we could not find any inscriptions or any stone carvings that talk about this incident. So that's one point to it. But I just want to ask about the caste sensitivity, the point that you brought in about Ramanuja. So whenever Ramanuja is questioned about the caste sensitivity and stuffs, so this story stands as a testimony for his open-mindedness about inclusiveness in the Vaishnava tradition. Um, I also happen to hear one more interesting story, a little controversial though. I just wanted to clarify with you because you must know Ramanuja better than many people around this time. So, is that Ramanuja had inducted many non Brahmins by birth into not just Vaishnavism, but also had them do the Upanayanam and inducted them as Brahmins into Vaishnavism. So, do you have any evidences that this incident has actually happened in the life of Ramanuja? Did Ramanuja encourage people to take up not just Vaishnavism, but he also conducted Upanayanam for them and made them as Brahmins? Is this a true incident?
no, there is no written records for that. I have
Okay.
read the biography of Ramanuja in original Sanskrit, Prapanamritam, and original Manipuramala Tamil Guru Parampara Prabhavam. And I have read about the Ramanuja's life happenings as referred to in commentaries to Pasurams. I find nowhere any evidence for this. I think people, latter people, they found a fancy in creating the story because Ramanuja was not interested in making anybody a Brahmin. What he said was a non Brahmin is as respectable as a Brahmin once he becomes a Vaishnavite. That was the only dogma he followed.
Mm.
To establish that, he used to treat a non Brahmin Vaishnavite and a Brahmin Vaishnavite equally. You would have heard about the story of Pillai Urangavali Dasar. Pillai Urangavali Dasar is a non Brahmin. He was a bodyguard of the king. He became the disciple of Ramanuja and he was very much attached to Ramanuja personally. And they say that every day while going to take bath to the river Kaveri, Ramanuja used to hold the hand of a Brahmin as a support. After taking bath, after becoming clean, he used to take the hand of this Pillai Urangavali Dasar, who was a non-Brahmin, to show the world that the unclean Ramanuja touched a Brahmin, clean Ramanuja touched a non-Brahmin Vaishnavite. So he was particular in establishing that Vaishnavism is more important than Varnashrama Dharma. But never did he attempt to break traditions in Vedic ceremonies. You know, to make a non Brahmin by making him wear this Yajnopavitam, that ceremony of Upanayanam uh, is allowed by the Vedas only to people of three communities: one Brahmin, two Kshatriya, three Vaishya. Only these three people. They are called Trivarnikas. Only Trivarnikas were allowed to wear this Yajnopavitam with Gayatri. Of course, people belonging to all castes had this Yajnopavitam of other deities, other mantras. Even today, we can find among fishermen community, the priest of Kali temple will be having this Yajnopavitam. But he doesn't pray Gayatri. It is not a Yajnopavitam of Gayatri. He would chant some Kali mantra and wear it. And people who belong to Vishwakarma community, they are called as Asari today. Even they will be having this Yajnopavitam, but not this Gayatri Yajnopavitam. That's different. So he never wanted to change the Vedic tradition. But there are stories, very strong stories saying that people were made Brahmins by Ramanuja. But there is no written evidence for that. Ramanuja had no such motive also. He had no such motive.
He
And
never thought converting someone to Brahmin is the highest level of
no, no, no. If
degree
he
and
had
things
done
like
it,
that.
if he had done it, it is against the principle he taught. What did he do? Attaining salvation does not depend upon Varnasrama, he said. If what you say is correct, that is, if he made a non Brahmin into a Brahmin, that means he is contradicting himself. That means you can attain salvation only if you become a Brahmin. But Ramanuja said non Brahmins can attain salvation. So it is self contradictory. So, the GRF Sri Perumbudur used
Sir,
to ask
I
me,
have a quick question on this Varnashrama part, sir, because I would like to quote Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 13. Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha tatsya kartaram apimam vidya kartaram avyayam. So, where verse, the rough translation, I've read from Shankara Bhashyam's translation into English, where I got this note that I am the creator of four varnas and it is based on your guna and karma. So, could it be that Ramanuja's understanding of this particular verse means that a person based on his guna and karma can become a Brahmin, can become a Vaishya, can become a Shudra, or can become a Kshatriya. Is it not interchangeable? What is your thought on this?
Of course, Puranas say that depending upon the guna and karma, the varna of a person can be changed. There are stories like that. The popular story of Vishwamitra becoming a Brahmin. Vishwamitra was a Kshatriya, but by penance, he got the boon from Brahma that he will become a Brahmin. He became a Brahmin. Then the next story is at least Vishwamitra took 4,000 years to become a Brahmin. I shall tell you a story of a man who became a Brahmin in no time. And his name was Bhitahavya. This Bhitahavya uh, defeated a king called Dibodasa unlawfully. Dibodasa was the rightful king of a particular country. This Dibodasa invaded, he drove him away and usurped his throne. And Dibodasa ran to the forest. There he gives birth to a son through his wife. He brings up that son, and when he is grown up, he teaches him that this thing happened, this Bhitahavya has snatched away your legal right of ruling a country. You must take revenge against him. He said, okay, I will do it. So he invades upon Bhitahavya with the help of an army. He was so strong that Bhitahavya was defeated. So while Bhitahavya came to understand that he is going to be killed by the son of Dibodasa, he ran away from the country. He ran away alone. This son of Dibodasa went chasing him. What happened was this Bhitahavya went into the ashram of Rishi Bhrigu and wanted and took shelter in his ashram. After some time, the man who was chasing him, he came there. He requested Sage Bhrigu, Swami, please let that fellow out. I want to kill him. He said, oh, why do you want to kill him, man? We are ashramites. But the fellow who entered your ashram is not a Brahmin. He's a Kshatriya. He's my enemy. As a true Kshatriya, let him come and fight me. I'm going to kill him, he said. Now, Bhrigu thinks about the situation. He says, I have given shelter to this fellow. That is Bhitahavya. How can I betray him? So he said, you see, in this ashram, there are only Brahmins, man. There is no Kshatriya here. Then the son of Dibodasa laughs at him and says, you see, when we people tell a lie, people say it's punishable. Whereas you are a sage, you are Bhrigu Maharishi. I was just looking at that fellow entering your ashram. He's a Kshatriya. And now you say that there is no Kshatriya there. How can it be? Allow me inside. I will show who that fellow is. Can you prove that there is a Brahmin inside? So when he forced the sage Bhrigu that way, Bhrigu said, okay, you can do it. But give me 5 minutes. Making him wait outside, he entered in. He went to that Bhitahavya. He said, now I am going to change you into a Brahmin using my yogic powers. So he took some holy water from his Kamandala. He chanted a mantra and sprinkled that upon the Bhitahavya. By his yogic greatness, the Varna of Bhitahavya changed and he became a Brahmin. Like we prepare instant coffee, instant Brahmin was prepared. Now he went out, he asked the son of Dibodasa, you go in and see, only Brahmins are inside, no Kshatriya is inside. So ferociously this fellow goes in with a drawn sword. But there he sees his body completely changed into a Brahmin body. Dibodasa was sitting in penance. And now Sage Bhrigu told him, he is a Brahmin now. Killing a Brahmin is a sin. Don't kill him. Then that fellow said, okay, At least as an acceptance of defeat at my hands, this fellow came and took shelter with you, and he has become a Brahmin for fear of being killed by me. That's a great victory for me. And once again, he is a defeated fellow only. I leave him here, I go back. Then he went away. This story is found in all Puranas.
So all it takes is a fancy dress competition to change a person from Kshatriya to Brahmin.
Ah, you see,
Sir, I mean,
now
I
the
sorry,
varna of a
I
person
just
is
mhm.
the varna of a person is decided not by the appearance, but by the blood cells. In the blood we have cells, RBC, WBC, like that. And Rajoguna will be dominantly present in the cells of a Kshatriya. If a Rishi changes him into a Brahmin, Satoguna will become dominant in the cells of that body. So the inward change takes place, not the outward dress change, I mean.
How
But
would
yeah,
one be able to identify that just by seeing a person sitting in penance? He could be acting as well.
because this sage Bhrigu gave him that the eye of the wisdom, the capacity to understand that such a change has happened. With that seventh sense, he could see that he has become a Brahmin. It was a third, I would say, Jnana Drishti we say, So he believed it. So it is not simply change of dress as you think. It's not a fashion change, but it is a change of the constituents of the body. How do you make out that a particular person is a Brahmin when you look at him? In normal life, we look at a person, we say, are you not a Brahmin? Yes, I am. How do you find out? You look that man. Are you not a Saurashtra? Yes. You look that. Are you not a Nadar? You look that. So each community has a frequency. That is, the physical make belongs to the three categories, Rajasic, Sattvic, and Tamasic. So a Brahmin has his own frequency. And that frequency is changed by yogi capacity or by penance. Brahma interfered with the life of Vishwamitra and made him Brahmin. This can be understood only by people of maturity. Others will make fun of it.
So it is possible that by guna and by karma, a person's
Uh,
swarna can be changed, and it's
no,
not.
Ramanuja
So
said once
it
you,
is not. What is my question? The answer that I'm trying to understand is for this question: that is varnashrama just by birth.
you see, a varna can be changed by certain supernatural spiritual capacities. And Ramanuja did that. He said, by samasrayanam, have you witnessed the ceremony of samasrayanam any time? What happens is, a disciple goes to an Acharya Purusha. He says, I want to become a Vaishnavite. Then he takes a piece of darbai. In that darbai, he chants a mantra and he makes the non-Brahminness of that body come into that darbai. Then, chanting a mantra, he burns it in the Yagagini. Then he says, your whole body has changed now. Then he chants another mantra. He says, hereafter, you become fit enough to become a Vaishnavite, you can enter Sri Vaikuntha. He doesn't say Brahminhood. He said the qualification of entering a Vaikuntha. That is the body's condition. That is why he said a Sri Vaishnavite is as holy or more holy than a Brahmin. That body structure is changed. But you will have to exercise great faith for that. You won't be able to believe. Just by burning a darbai, a man's caste changing, who would believe? It's a sort of a supernatural faith. So only some people will have that faith. So we don't tell it outside. This is the thing Ramanuja did. Now people paint that in their own colors. They say that he made non-Brahmins as Brahmins. No, that never happened. Now one question is there. You
Yes.
know, Sugriva. Sugriva was the monkey king. Hanuman was his minister. And all monkeys served Rama. Now in Vaishnavite literature, We address Sugriva as Maharaja. We don't call him by name as a token of respect. And we call Hanuman as Vayuputra as a token of respect. On all monkeys are called as Vanara Mudaligal, that is great Vaishnavites of Rama. Now my question is, did this Sugriva undergo this Samasrayanam? Was any ceremony done by Rama or anybody? No. Did Hanuman undergo any ceremony? No. And crores of monkeys, they fought for Rama, they gave their lives, they went to Sri Vaikunta. They are called as saintly monkeys. None of them underwent this ceremony, but we respect them. That's what G.R.F. Sri Perumbudur used to tell me. If Sugriva can enter Vaikunta without changing his varna, if Hanuman can do it, if all the monkeys can go to Vaikunta, why not you and me? That's what Ramanuja said. So changing a man by making him wear this Yajnopavita was an outward symptom, ostentation, unwanted ostentation. Ramanuja never believed in that. We
Sir,
find, uh, yes,
no, sir, go ahead. I'll.
we find an instance where this man, this saintly man, was sitting under a tree for shade after he took rest and when he became fit enough to walk. He looked at the tree. He said, "This tree gave me shade. I must be grateful to it." So he said, he chanted the mantra, salvation mantra. He touched the tree. What happened? Immediately the tree died. That soul went into Sri Vaikunta. This is a narration given in the biography of Manavala Mamunigal. Now, did this tree wear this Yajnaopavitam or was any ceremony done? No, it was just a touch by Manavala Mamunigal. So, when a Sri Vaishnava thinks that a man must go to Vaikunta by mere contact, it will happen. It is possible. Then why do you believe in ceremonies like Yajnopavita, Gayatri, and things like that? So Brahminhood does not come into the picture at all. So don't drag Ramanuja to this awkward scene. He never did that.
No, no. That's thank you for the clarifications. It's really good that we are able to hear this from a person of your stature. So we can burst around the myths. So I happen to understand based on your narration, sir. So the varna of a person does not carry much weightage in Sri Vaishnava Sampradayam. Can I call it that way?
Yes, right.
Okay.
You're right.
I'll have it as my last question. Um, Recently, there was a lot of noise about the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam giving an advertisement for want of people to serve in their Madapalli to do the Nevedyam for Swami, the holy laddu that we get as prasadam from Tirupati. And the advertisement carried these words. They wanted a Vaishnavite Brahmin to do this seva for Sri Balaji. What is your take on this, sir?
What is objectionable in that?
Vaishnavite is fine. Why is it specified as Brahmin, sir? If Vaishnavism is not about caste discrimination or there is no Varna discrimination in Vaishnavism, why was this? What is the need for specifically calling out a Brahmin in addition to the Vaishnavite?
You know, a Vaishnavite has no caste discrimination only as far as attainment of salvation is concerned. For salvation, there is no discrimination. But in carrying out Vedic ceremonies, we need a particular discipline.
So this is
You
to make
know,
laddu, sir. Laddu prasadam, not for any
yes,
Vedic
I know, I
ceremonies.
know, I know. But you see, Ramanuja made Kshatriyas as Vaishnavites. People working in the palace, they were his disciples. When they became Vaishnavites, they were respected as much as a Brahmin. But those people, many of them continued to be non vegetarians because that is their family tradition. They can't give it up all on a sudden. Further, they belong to the military cadre. They need it. So, non Brahmins will be sticking on to their old family habits even after becoming Vaishnavites. Say a Vaishnavite Harijan, for example. A Vaishnavite I know about a Vaishnavite here in Pondicherry. After getting this Samasrayanam, he continues to be a non vegetarian. He continues all his weaknesses of food habits. Now, if you don't add the word Vaishnavite Brahmin in that advertisement, this man will be standing there. I will come and do the duty, sir. Now, as per the Vedic prescriptions, Lord Venkateswara is a Swayambhu. Swayambhu means self manifestation of Lord Vishnu. It was not a sculptor made statue. He needs a certain paraphernalia, he needs a certain discipline of puja. That man must be clean in so many things, so many respects. First of all, this vegetarian diet, and further, a pure Brahmin, if only he behaves as a good Brahmin, has his own way, style of living. He must get up as early as 3:30 in the morning. He must take bath. He must avoid so many food like garlic, onions. He must avoid those things. He must keep chanting so many mantras. He must keep chanting Gayatri mantra so many times every day. And he must avoid so many practices. So, like that, prescriptions are there. Brahmins follow that. Even today, they follow. Some Brahmins, not all.
As you rightly
So,
mentioned, some Brahmins, not
some
all.
Brahmins, not
There
all,
is,
not.
I mean, I can tell you that 90 to 95 percentage of the people born in the Brahmin community are not leading the life prescribed in the shastras about their lifestyle.
You're right,
Today
you're right.
we are all living a normal lifestyle, so calling it out as a Brahmin Vaishnava is not going to define them, that whether this person who is coming in is going to follow the lifestyle of a Brahmin or not. Rather, you can recommend that giving a vegetarian who is following a vegetarian diet, who is non-alcoholic, who is non-smoking, that kind of habitual things could be included instead of calling out a caste or a varna, right, sir? It's sending a
No,
wrong message, is what my question is about. Is it
no, the
giving a very wrong
person,
message, is what I'm thinking.
the authority who is in charge of giving the replacement, he wants to be free of guilt. The guilt is this: if he openly welcomes anybody to do this, there are people to charge him. Hey, as per tradition, only Brahmins must do this, man. Now you have opened doors to all non-Brahmins to do this. It's a great guilt. You will go to hell for this. So to avoid that, he is to keep his hands safe. He said, I want Brahmins, Vaishnavite Brahmins. Now, if the man who comes there, if he's not a true Brahmin, if he's living a non-Brahmin life, now the guilt is not the officers. The guilt is of the Brahmin. Now that man can keep his hand clean. I advertised with a pure heart. But a fellow who has come there for interview, he's a dirty fellow. It is not my fault. He can keep his hands clean like that. That's a possibility, you know.
No, that's an interesting possibility. I take it from you. But my point is, from a philosophy that has broken all traditions of, we know the story of Ramanuja, who wanted to spread the message of salvation to everybody and not just limited to a particular sect of people. Ramanuja wanted to spread this to everybody. And when you talk about vegetarianism and dietism, sir, both Rama and Krishna, who are considered to be the Purna avatars, both of them have practiced the life of a Kshatriya. They are meat eaters. And yet, this where come this tradition of vegetarianism takes so much of importance when it comes to making prashadas and other things? Is it just a people sentiment that is being that is being shown, or is it really that there is a lot of caste intricacy into it, social
You know,
beliefs and stuff?
Rama and Krishna as Kshatriyas ate meat, and there is nothing wrong about it. Because while he was born as a pig, Varaha, he ate whatever a pig used to eat. And that is what is found in Shastras. So eating is not a big problem now. Now that cannot be a good quotation to encourage people to eat non-vegetarian food. But the thing is, the food by itself is not bad or good, because even among vegetarian stuff, there are things which are very much forbidden, which are very much rajasic. For example, all Western vegetables, these cabbage, lettuce, cauliflower, carrots, these things are very rajasic. They are more rajasic than mutton itself. So our Shastras say non-Vedic vegetables also must be forbidden. So when a man is a vegetarian but he eats all these foreign vegetables, he is not a vegetarian. So the food was classified only with one motive. What is that motive? That food must not give him Rajasic qualities. That food must not give him Tamasic qualities. That food which gives him Sattvic qualities. That is what we mean when we say vegetarian diet is preferable. So, vegetarian and non-vegetarian diet classification is too general a classification. It is not a correct definition of food restriction. I would say there are foods, you know, if a man who practices liquor consumption and addiction to prostitutes, if that man gives you food, it's a vegetarian diet. Vegetarian diet made of Vedic vegetables, that is brinjal, drumstick, such things only. That food, according to Shastras, is forbidden because the food giver unknowingly influences the food by the impact of his qualities. To explain that, they used to say one story. It seems one rishi, he felt very thirsty, so he went to the house of a burglar. He asked for water. He said, Swamiji, you look hungry also. Why don't you eat in my house? Okay, give me food also. He sat there. That burglar gave him food, water, everything, gave him hospitality. And when the rishi left the house, after 15 minutes, he found out that he had stolen the tumbler of that burglar and he was hiding the tumbler in his waist. The rishi. Then he thought, why do I steal tumblers? I never do this at all. Then, by his Jnanadriti, he found out because he ate in the house of a burglar, that food caused him that sense to steal. That food has given him the intuition to steal others' properties. Then he realized, aha, our ancestors have put it rightly. The food given by a man is definitely influenced by his qualities. We must not eat in the house of burglars. So, Shastras are so sensitive to such matters. You are asking him questions about Vedic Brahmana and such things like that. So, people who are influenced by Shastras, they have to follow it. I am not offended by this. This advertisement doesn't offend me at all. Okay, let them do it. What? I'm not a Brahmin. If I were a Brahmin, also, I won't go for this job.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, I just want to conclude it here. I wanted to speak about Ramanuja, but I sincerely think that I was able to get convincing answers from you. So, because I've raised these questions to many other people, but the answers were really convincing, and I hope our viewers also find it very interesting. I would like to talk to you more and in detail about many other subjects in in coming days, and to get more insights into uh, what kind of understanding you have about Vaishnavism and how the myths and misconceptions can be broken in this point. Thank you so much for taking time and talking to us.
Okay, thank you for your questions. I thank God for this interview. Be part. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. Namaskaram, sir.